So thank you everybody for joining Thursday 30 this afternoon. We've got Reeza Awoodun, the CEO of TechEdology with us. Reeza is going to talk about inspiration software and how it can support non-linear thinkers to produce better writing outcomes. If you've got a question for Reeza, could you please just type it into the chat and he can answer it if as we go along, or he can answer at the end of the session. So thank you, and over to you, Reeza.
Yeah, thank you, Annabelle, for that introduction. So as Annabelle introduced me, I'm from TechEdology, who are the developers and publishers of Inspiration. So just to quickly explain what Inspiration is, if you've not come across it before, it's a visual thinking tool. And what it does is it allows an individual to be able to essentially, well, it allows you to be able to make your thoughts and ideas visible. And you do this in a graphical way using a combination of words, symbols, and pictures. And by using this very spatial, creative vision approach, what you're able to do is organize your thinking and to be able to essentially allows you to understand complex and abstract information much more clearly. So I'm going to particularly talk about how inspiration can be used as a writing tool for those that describe themselves as non-linear thinkers. And they tend to be those with neuro differences, those that tend to be creative, big picture thinkers, who tend to be quite spatial in terms of their thinking. And so when they are approaching writing, it can be a real challenge. It's in a format that it's not aligned to how they think. And so from their perspective, it can feel quite restrictive working in a writing format, and also can be intimidating and create challenges like the blank page syndrome, for example. So before I go into how inspiration is used, just wanted to explain why some of these challenges might happen for a non-linear thinker. So essentially, one of the key things is the expected writing process. So it is a linear format. You know, you start off with an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. And in that structure, you're really just focusing on the end result, the end product, you know, an essay, a report, for example. So for someone that's non-linear, very creative, for example, the ones that tend to be lateral problem solvers, the ones that tend to see the big picture, this can be quite restrictive. What writing and this structure doesn't necessarily encourage, and what they tend to enjoy, is that whole enjoyment of learning, the discovery process. So inspiration can help with that in terms of taking their much more creative approach, but still creating that written output for them. It's also a very predictable structure, this linear approach to writing. And so for them, it might be uninspiring, not engaging enough. There's also rules to writing, for example, you know, how you present, the format, the style, the structure, you know, having it in introduction, body, conclusions, broken up into paragraphs, for example. And so that in itself can create some constraints, particularly in terms of your thinking. And also particularly in terms of, well, both academia, education, and in the workplace. Quite often you're having to write to a deadline, and this can be at odds with that organic creative thinking. Now, the actual writing process and executive function is quite challenging. There's a lot of things that you have to deal with at the same time, for example, when you are approaching writing. And that's why quite often that can cause a heavy load in terms of cognitive function and what's required, because you're having to have this multi-skill approach. First of all, in terms of planning, you know, when you're approaching writing, you have to, you know, you've got to think about what you want to write and how to organize your ideas so it's coherent. Staying focused, for example, is another challenge, and, you know, trying to not be distracted. Remembering, so trying to keep track of your ideas, but also what you want to say. So there's a lot of challenges with regards to that, particularly if you've got working memory challenges. Also, the other aspect is making decisions. So decisions around the best words and the sentences that you want to use to express your thoughts. And then you've got that whole process of revising and editing. So a lot of these things are happening at once. And then from a writing perspective, and in terms of those challenges, typically the characteristics of their writing is that it's disorganized with incoherent logical structure, reasoning to it, because what they're trying to do is they're thinking in one way, but they're having to force it into another type of structure. And because of the cognitive load, because of the complexity of writing, the various different skills that you have to use simultaneously, it means then that it's a real challenge in terms of spelling and grammar. And quite often you'll see their writing littered with that and grammatical mistakes as well. And because it's not a natural format in terms of how they like to think and work, it can lack that imagination because they're working within this constraint which their brains are engineered not to work within. So what I'm going to do now is show you inspiration and how it can be used in terms of used for writing. Now, it is a very versatile tool. It's a tool that's used to support the writing process. It's used in terms of helping in terms of memory retention and in terms of revision, around also in terms of organization and structure. For most of our users, they do describe themselves as non-linear. And when we ask them what the biggest benefits are, for 90 odd % of them or more, it will be around helping them to organize their ideas and helping them to clarify their thinking. So hopefully in this demonstration, you'll see that in action. So I'm going to start off with a new project. Now, in Inspiration, I am actually presenting in Inspiration here as well, and that is one of its other uses. But when you launch it, you get this starter screen, and you've got different canvases that you can work within. You've got the diagram view, which is your totally free flow, flexible environment. It allows you to be able to capture, organize, and communicate your ideas in a way that makes sense to you and what you intend to communicate to your audience in a very visual way. If you want to create those pure mind maps and use mind mapping techniques, you can use the map view to do that. The other view that we've got is the outline view. So as you work in a very visual way in either the diagram or map view, simultaneously and at the same time, an outline will be produced. And you'll see that in action and why Inspiration is a very popular writing tool. But we do have a lot of users that purely use the outlining technique in itself because it's a proven note-taking and writing strategy as well. A clear structure to be able to get your ideas down. And we also have a wealth of templates. So if going to the templates, there's over 150 all organized different topic areas, subjects, thinking and planning, and templates specifically for work as well. It is a tool that's used in education, it's used in the workplace, and it's used personally. And so if I went into English, for example, we've got a whole load of different templates to get you started. And templates are a great way of being a catalyst for that ideation, particularly if, say, for example, you've got lots of ideas, but you don't know where to start or how to organize it. A template can be a great way to do that. And we've got lots of different templates to help with different needs. But to really show you the benefits of Inspiration, we're going to go into the diagram view. And so this, I guess, is the unique selling point, the key feature of Inspiration, this totally free-form creative environment. And we're going to work on a project which is a writing project and show you how Inspiration can be used to be able to capture your ideas in a very non-linear graphical way, but to turn it into a coherent writing piece. So I've got my main idea and I'm going to do a writing project. So I would label it with the project that I've got in hand. So, but then I can just click anywhere. So there's no restriction where I plot my idea. So introduction. my body of my writing and my conclusion. So all I do is just click anywhere and just stop and start typing. And so it's just a great way of getting those ideas out. And what we're doing is we're breaking down the writing process, chunking it down. So this bit, we're in the ideation perspective. Just get those ideas out onto the page. Don't worry about structure, spelling, punctuation, formatting. Just get it out there onto the page. And as you can see, I can move these around anywhere. Now, the tool has been designed to be quite simple to use. And it does require little training to get started with it and be productive with it. Up here at the top are your tools to help you with be able to create your diagrams and to help you with ideation and to help you in terms of some of the accessibility features. We've also got a symbols library here, access to over 1,000 different images and symbols to help you to have access to visual cues to help represent your ideas. And this is important from visual thinking techniques. They're all organized in different topics, subject areas, and you can also create your own custom symbols libraries and import your own images as well. And down here at the bottom are all of your formatting options to help you to create the diagrams exactly as how you want to style it and present it. And vitally also to be able to add color cues, which is a great way of categorizing information as well. So I've got my ideas out onto the page and I use the link tool to be able to show the relationships between the different ideas as we go here. And as you can see, there is no restriction in terms of where I place those ideas. So, and this is important from a nonlinear thinker because what they're doing is they're representing that thinking in their head now onto the page, and they're placing those ideas where it makes sense for them to be able to process that information visually. Now, I'm just going to flip over to the outline view, and you can do this at any point in time. So the outline is now my representation of my visual thinking now in a written format, in a hierarchical structure, using indentations and prefixes to show the connections of my main ideas and supporting ideas. So I've got some ideas there. I've used the link tool to show the relationship. So that's showing the connections between different ideas. Now, I could use other tools within here, and a real popular tool is the rapid fire tool. If I turn that on, we've got this little thunderbolt. I'll do it without links first. So this is a great brainstorming technique to quickly get those ideas out onto the page. So, for example, I'll just throw anything that's coming into mind. So thesis statement, compare and contrast. So all I'm doing is typing and pressing enter, restate main points, story climax. So I've got some ideas out. So as I said, a great way of just dumping those ideas out onto the page. Now, if I go to the outline, you'll see it's just listed there at the moment. But as I look at these different ideas that are out on the page, I can then start to see where they could connect. Well, compare and contrast might be one of the typical things that I might do in the body of my writing project. Thesis statement might be in my introduction. So I'm starting to now create that structure and organize it and see the connections between these different ideas. So going in and doing that connection, and if I go to here, restate, use the link tool there. Now you can see a little red underline happening. There is a built-in spell checker. So if I right click, I've got some suggested words. And if it was a correct word, just a specialist word, I could add it to dictionary. So it will be okay for the future, and I'll just correct it. There is also, if I highlight a word, a word guide. So within here, I can get definitions and synonyms to similar words or antonyms, opposite words. So there's words here, and I could then just pick a word. I'll just pick one at random, do replace, and it will replace it there. So there are tools and inspiration to support the writing process. So as well as, identifying miscues and helping with the spelling, there's also the built-in thesaurus to help in terms of development of vocab as well. particularly for those users that are prone to repetitions of the same words. Right, so as I'm linking, I could do other ways of doing it. I could use the rapid fire with links. So I'll do that. And I've got the Thunderbolt that tell me it's on again. So all again, type presenter, type presenter. So for against presenter, literature review, persuasive argument. So I've got some ideas down here, and when I finish, just click out. And again, I can just move things around. So visually, I'm just placing these in the areas of the screen, which makes sense and makes it easy for me to be able to process this information. So it's working around the needs of the user rather than the user having to work around a particular structure that the software is trying to impose. Now, again, I'll go into the outline and you'll start to see that this structure is developing, but I can also edit within here as well. So I can move things around. So change the order, for example. I can edit within here, body of writing. And what this does is it's a two-way sync. So I've changed that there, body of writing, go to here and here, and you can see it's there. So anything you do in one environment will affect the other one. So, and that works in both ways. So we like to say this view is your big picture. This is where you see all of the ideas and concepts and how they connect to one another. In here, in the outline, is now your written format. This is a full word processor. It will do 5,000 words, 10,000 words, 50,000 words. We've got users, professional writers with 100,000 word counts. It is a full word processor, but it uses outlining techniques to help you to be able to neatly structure your writing, for example. Let's bounce back to here. So other ways in which you can basically capture ideas is you can see the links here. So with these links, you can label them. So I can go into there and just put some text in. But to support that, if I right click, I've got a link phrase bank of general terms, or if we go into more link phrases, mathematical and scientific terms to explain why one idea is connected to another, for example. So I'm just going to click for example. So these are explaining why one idea is connected to another. Also with these links, you can do things like change the directions, for example. So you can quite precisely show the relationships between different ideas in which direction that they're going in, for example. Other things that you can do is add visual cues. So on here, we've got on the front screen. So let's look at compare and contrast. So I'll use that. Literature review, nice book here. And if I go into here, go into lots of different options. So I'm going to go into here and drop in these things. That's all I need to do, just drop them in. So pictures is a great way of being able to represent ideas. For most of us, our brains think in pictures. We are most effective in terms of processing visual information. And so inspiration makes it easy to be able to quickly add these visual cues to our map. It's adding an extra layer of meaning. It helps you to process more effectively, more faster, but also helps and aids in terms of memory retention. So if you can use this dual coding approach of using verbal cues such as words, text, for example, with visual cues like pictures, it helps to encode and embed that information, that idea into your long-term memory. And also when it comes back to looking at your map, say, for example, in 6 months' time, those visual cues can help in terms of memory recall, for example. Another feature that we've got is that you can obviously add color cues to help add an extra layer of meaning. So I could do one individually, or if I click on here and go to edit. You can select at various different levels and highlight a group of them. So what this does is it breaks down the map into its key components. So you can start to see groups, patterns, relationships. But to speed that up, I can use our themes feature. So I'll turn that on. Got lots of different themes. I tend to go for this one, and it will automatically apply a theme to it. So moving into the writing process, the other thing that we can do is expand on the ideas of each one of these. So each one of these, I can add essentially a sticky note. So I'll just click on that, the notes feature, and each note can have up to 8 A4 pages of text. Here we can provide relevant background info. Each note can have an image inserted in as well. And then in here, in conclusion, I'm going to add one here as well. So normally when we are supporting someone in terms of the writing process, normally they're going into a writing process with a rough idea of what they want to conclude with. So we say, well, actually add some notes to your conclusion at the beginning. So if you start to lose focus, you can look back at that, and that sort of helps you to hone back in, gives you that trajectory. So here we can note down where this project is going. So each symbol can have a note. Each note can have up to 8 A4 pages. As you can see, you can have multiple notes opened up at once. You can close them off when you don't want to see it, reopen them up when you want to. You can make them bigger, particularly important if you've got a lot of text in there, make them smaller, compare, so you can move different sections. Again, this makes it easier to be able to compare two different sections in a document just by moving them, but they're always connected to their symbol, and then hide away, then you don't. Hiding away is quite good so that you're not overwhelmed with too much text as well. So if I go to here, you'll see, and if I zoom in, that's where the notes are, and I've added them in here. So the notes are paragraphs. The labels that are in the symbols are the topic headings and subheadings. And on each one of these, I can add a note as well. In this particular view, compare and contrast a popular method, which we have a template. Now I've added it there. If I wanted to see where that was, as well as the content being in sync, navigation is in sync as well. So if I highlight that, go to here, it automatically highlights it on here, and you can see the notes being added there as well. So you can see you can work in both environments, and quite a lot of our users will move back and forth between them. As well as written notes, you can do audio notes. So if I right click, do insert video sound, you can embed video, you can insert sound files, and you can also do audio notes. So if I click on here I can record up to 60 seconds of audio to quickly capture my ideas to listen back to later on. So stop, save, and you've got that liquid control, which I was to click on it, it would play back that note, and each one can have that as well. And if I click on here and click down here, you can turn this on to see those visual cues appear in my outline as well. So if those visual cues are important to me, I can see the connections still in my outline as well. So just to wrap up, as I know we're coming up to the end, and I'm just focusing on the key features. If I go into here, the arrange tool, I can arrange it. And I could do this at the beginning, in the middle, at the end, and keep on changing it to look at the information in different ways. If I go into more, got lots of different options. If I've rearranged my outline and I want my diagram to reflect that, I can do that by ticking here, for example, and it will do the heavy lifting and organize my diagram for me. I can, if I want to, turn on auto arrange. I don't tend to myself. I like to arrange it myself. if you turn on auto arrange and choose one of those styles like tree, web, as you add more ideas, it will keep it to that structure as well. So got my structure here. We have got built-in text to speech. So if I was to click that on, and then to click on any one of these, it would read it back, and that's in the outline as well. You can also hyperlink. So if I've got any resources, I can web pages, for example, documents, I can click on that, find a document to hyperlink to. There we are, and do OK. And if I click on that, it will open up that particular document. If, say, for example, I've got references that I need to capture, sources of material, I can use the citation tool. I'm just going to add some stuff into here. The reference. So you would use, if you had to use a particular referencing style, you would do that, just type it in the style required, or use a dedicated referencing tool to create it for you. Then you just copy and paste. And you can add these to any one of these symbols. So Z reference. And each one of these could be hyperlinked as well. And then what would happen then, if you go to the outline, it automatically creates a bibliography, collects all of those references and puts it at the end. So I've been working on my writing. I've looked at it from an outline view. I like the structure of it, for example, and how it's developed. See the big picture in terms of the diagram view. When I'm ready, I'll just click on the transfer to Word. I've got lots of different options as to what I want to send it to. I have that option in, again, the outline view as well. So if I do OK, it will then automatically send it to Word, but you can send it to Google Docs and to OneNote as well. And so it will then send it along to Word, so I can continue the writing process within Word itself. So this really sort of gives you one of the sort of strands of using inspiration and one of the journeys for helping someone in terms of writing. We also, you can export to PowerPoint as a graphics file, PDF, lots of different options like that. And also we have got an exam mode in here to support students who want to use inspiration in exams. And so we are actively looking for schools that would like to pilot that. And we've got some new features coming out in March to support using inspiration in exams as well. So yeah, that's everything I was going to cover, Annabelle. So I don't know if there's any questions.
That's great. It's I'm thinking I really wish it was around when I was at school. I could see it being really useful for things like history.
Yeah.
And yes, interesting that you talk about exam mode, because we were actually doing another session in a few weeks that Maureen is running. Actually, Maureen's not on the call this afternoon, but she's doing a session on exam accessibility. And so this is really right up her street. Anyway, I can talk to her about that, because, you know, maybe it is something that we could, you know, try.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so anyway, we're right on 4 o'clock. Kirsty's saying, is there a speech to text option rather than audio notes?
There isn't speech to text built in. You can use, say, for example, Windows voice control to both dictate in, and also you can use voice control to do some of the features like rapid fire as well. You know, use that command and then speak the ideas. But we do have a specific version of inspiration for use with Dragon Professional. And so with that one, most of what you've shown, you can do just using speech alone without touching the keyboard. So if anyone's interested in that, then I can certainly follow up with regards to how you use inspiration, say with Dragon Professional.
That would probably be good, actually, because we do have some students who use Dragon.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be good. And the other thing is when you do the structure or whatever, then how does it get into like a Word document or whatever? Like if you're going to write your essay, can you transport it into Word or something, or like how does that happen?
Yeah, so right at the last moment, when I clicked the transfer button, maybe it wasn't obvious, it took it straight to Word. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so it's just a one-click transfer over to Word. You don't have
Okay.
to copy and paste or anything. And so if I just share that screen again, where is it? So go to here. So yeah, so if you just go to transfer,
Okay.
if
Yeah.
you want to go copy and paste to Google Docs or OneNote, yeah. But otherwise, sorry, maybe it wasn't. That was it, just opening up in Word.
Right. Okay. No, that's great. Yeah. Yeah. I can see how it'd be incredibly useful. Anyway, I think we should probably just leave it there because it's a little bit past 4. But thanks very much, Reeza. That was really interesting. And
Cool.
yeah, and I will be in touch soon.
Okay, well, thank you, Annabelle, and thank you everyone for
Thanks.
attending. And yeah, please feel free to reach out.
Thanks very much. All right. Have a good afternoon, everybody. Bye.
Cheers. Thank you.